Good morning, Mr. President. Welcome to pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good morning, Madam. Good morning. Welcome to Kenya. Good morning. Yes. Mr. President, this is my deputy. Yes. This is the head of our military. The Army Commander. Thank you. Air Force Commander. Navy Commander. General Patel. Thank you. Welcome. Yes. You came with some rain.
Well, back home, they see a bit of rain. It's a sign of
Thank you very much.
Mergem la fotografie și o să invităm și doamnele după ce faceți dumneavoastră fotografie.
you to sign for us our visitors book. This was once upon a time they were alive.
I guess
Excellency, I have commission matter of that of
Acum mergem la fotografie și o să invităm și doamnele după ce fac bine la fotografie.
We may kindly take our seats. The first MOU is in the field of environment and protection and climate change. The objective of the MOU is to maintain and strengthen bilateral cooperations in the field of environmental protection and climate change on the basis of equality, reciprocity, and mutual benefit. We may applaud them. The MOU now signed is a field of environmental protection and climate change. The next MOU is on cooperation in the field of sanitary, veterinary, and food safety. The objective of the MOU is to ensure effective cooperation in the field of sanitary, veterinary, and food safety by encouraging mutual trade of food products in accordance with national legislation of the two state parties. You may now proceed to sign. The MOU now signed is on agricultural research and cooperation. The third MOU is on agricultural research and cooperation. The objective of the MOU is to promote and encourage economic, scientific, and technical cooperation between Academy of Agricultural and Forestry Sciences, AAFS, and the Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization, KALRO, their research institutes or centers in the field of agriculture and environment. The MOU now signed is on agricultural research and cooperation. The fourth MOU is on cooperation between Romanian Diplomatic Institute and the Foreign Service Academy of Kenya. The objective of the MOU is to give priority to joint research, introduction and elaboration of modern methods for training diplomats and specialists in the area of foreign policy, international relations, and other relevant areas. The parties intend to keep each other informed on matters related to research and teaching techniques in the above-mentioned areas, to exchange relevant literature and publications. We may now proceed to the signing. The MOU now signed is on cooperation between the Romanian Diplomatic Institute and the Foreign Service Academy of Kenya. We will now proceed to have His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto and His Excellency Klaus Iohannis to give a joint press statement. Welcome, Your Excellencies.
Your Excellency, President Klaus Iohannis, Your Excellency, First Lady who is somewhere in this compound, honorable ministers, ambassadors and high commissioners, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the press, good afternoon. Welcome to this press briefing. On behalf of the people and government of Kenya, I am delighted to welcome His Excellency, the President of Romania, and First Lady, and the entire delegation on their maiden visit to Kenya. I appreciate, Mr. President, that in your visit, the first by yourself into our continent, you have chosen Kenya as your first destination, signifying the great relationship between our two countries. President Iohannis and I have just concluded very fruitful discussions where we have exchanged views on the current state of our relations and our path to the future in the light of the challenges that exist in our globe, but in the context of tremendous potential and opportunity that exists between us, our two countries, and Africa and Europe. We have taken note of the warm and cordial relations that exist between Kenya and Romania, whose inception in 1968 saw initiation of collaboration in diverse fields. We have in this regard reiterated the imperative to escalate our cooperation across all spheres of mutual interest, including political, social, and cultural and diplomatic domains. During our discussions, we have deliberated on a wide range of subjects across various areas of common interest: trade and investment, environment conservation and climate action, political and diplomatic dialogue, cooperation in ICT, agriculture, and of course, the people-to-people engagement, especially the discussions on peace and security, and the most important component we share of our belief in democracy. Accordingly, our discussion focused on strategies and interventions by which we can enhance trade and investment between our two countries. We've also shared ideas on new opportunities to improve the balance of trade and enhance investment between our two countries, leveraging on the expansive space created by the private sector and how we can leverage on the markets that we have in the East Africa, in the Africa continent, that we are consolidating into a single market, and how we can build on that, realizing that Romania being a member of the European Union, I have thanked His Excellency the President for supporting Kenya, especially in the conclusion of the Economic Partnership Agreement between Kenya and the EU that will be passed by the EU Parliament and for signature on the 17th of December, where the President of the EU Parliament is coming to Kenya to sign off that agreement that will expand the space for trade, investment, and business between Europe and Kenya, between Romania and Kenya, and between Europe and our East African community area. To set off the process of actualizing our common agenda in these areas, we also witnessed just now the signing of 4 memorandum of understanding: environment protection and climate change, cooperation on sanitary, veterinary and food safety, agricultural research and cooperation, and Diplomatic Institute and the Foreign Service Academy of Kenya. I am confident that the implementation of these MOUs will escalate the relations into an effective partnership in areas of focus and create conditions for Kenya and Romania to expand the scope of collaboration to cover even more sectors in the now and near future. During our discussions, I requested His Excellency the President to join me in advocating for climate action and calling upon developed nations to work with us. I have requested him directly to support the Nairobi Leaders Declaration that positions Africa as a continent with opportunity, as a continent with renewable resources, mineral resources, human capital, and as a critical player in the development of the future of humanity and our common position on matters climate. We also have had an opportunity to discuss global peace and security and shared concerns on the continued conflicts and instability in our regions and other parts of the world. Consequently, we've agreed to play our rightful roles within the existing instruments in the community of nations to contribute to a more peaceful and secure world. I briefed the President on what we are doing in Somalia, in DRC, in Sudan, including the meetings I had yesterday, on how Kenya continues to play a pivotal role in anchoring the stability of our region, the peace in our region, and the huge sacrifices and commitments Kenya is making. And also appreciate that this is happening elsewhere in the world, in Russia, Ukraine, in Israel, Gaza, and that collectively we need to come together to resolve these conflicts so that we can have a much more peaceful and stable globe that we can all pursue our aspirations as nations. President Iohannis and I also resolved to continuously work together both at the bilateral as well as multilateral levels to promote and support the achievements of the Global Development Agenda, including the Sustainable Development Goals. It's my pleasure again, ladies and gentlemen, to appreciate my brother, the President of Romania, for visiting Kenya. I have also explained to him the cultural, the tourism, and the many other aspects that await our progress as we enhance the relations between our two countries. That culture especially theater is a space that is very well developed in Romania. And as Kenya, we can learn a lot in that space. I've also agreed with the president on how we're going to work together in the digital space, in the technology space, leveraging on their expertise and knowledge and building a nexus between their center of cybersecurity with our Silicon Savannah in Kenya, and how we can build that, because we all realize that whether it is delivery of government service, whether it is revenues, whether it is health, including ourselves in agriculture, technology is becoming a great enabler, and we can share experiences and share expertise and knowledge in that space. I've also appreciated Mr. President and the government of Romania for opportunities extended to students from Kenya to study in universities in Romania. And we are looking forward to building an even bigger engagement in that space to enable us build the people-to-people relations between our two countries. Mr. President, again, on behalf of the government and people of Kenya, I welcome you and your delegation to Nairobi and to Kenya, and we look forward to building a stronger, firmer relationship, people to people, government to government, and regional cooperation between our two countries. Mr. President, the people of Kenya and this great delegation want to listen to you more than they wanted to listen to me.
Thank you very much, Excellency President Ruto. Thank you for the warm, friendly welcome you prepared for me and for my entire team. We are really feeling among friends here. I will continue in Romanian. Bună ziua! Îmi face o deosebită plăcere să mă aflu astăzi în vizită de stat în Republica Kenya. Kenya este unul dintre prietenii tradiționali ai României în Africa de Est și un partener economic și sectorial din ce în ce mai relevant pentru noi. Înainte de a continua, adresez președintelui Ruto și cetățenilor din Kenya condoleanțe pentru pierderile de vieți omenești cauzate de masivele inundații recente, precum și regrete pentru pagubele materiale înregistrate și miile de oameni strămutați din gospodăriile lor. I-am împărtășit președintelui William Ruto viziunea României privind redinamizarea relațiilor noastre cu statele continentului african, Kenya având un rol esențial în demersurile strategice ale țării noastre. De altfel, vizita în Kenya se desfășoară într-un context foarte special. Recenta adoptare a primei strategii naționale pentru Africa, cu titlul România-Africa, parteneriat pentru viitor prin pace, dezvoltare și educație. România și Kenya au o relație îndelungată, caracterizată prin respect și încredere reciprocă, consolidate pe parcursul a 55 de ani de relații bilaterale. Sunt sigur că discuțiile de astăzi, construind pe relația noastră tradițională,
will open new cooperation perspectives. To continue our discussions, I have extended an invitation to President Ruto to visit Kenya. Is an example of political stability and democratic transition in Eastern Africa, and moreover, economic, financial, transport, and sustainable development hub for the entire region. Our consultations today have reconfirmed that we have joint topics of interest and similar positions toward global current concerns and challenges. So we've agreed to develop cooperation in areas of an essential role both for Romania and Kenya, protecting the environment and fighting climate change, civil protection, education, digitalization, green energy. I've expressed my appreciation for the role of leader undertaken by President Ruto and Kenya in the efficient management and fighting climate change, and we've agreed that our administrations cooperate tighter in this respect. We've identified a major cooperation potential between Romania and Kenya in areas such as biodiversity and forest, digitalization for sustainable development, energy transition, education for environment and climate change, and efficient answer to natural disasters and food insecurity. Allow me to express also my appreciation to signing bilateral cooperation documents in the field of environment, sanitary, veterinary, and food safety, agricultural research, and training of diplomats. I've agreed with President Ruto to work together to encourage the business environment in Kenya and in Romania to start joint projects, both bilaterally and on third-party markets, including in fields on digital transition and green transition. We want to value the geostrategic positions of Romania and Kenya as gateways, significant gateways for the regional economy. Within discussions of today, we've shared opinions on the evolutions in various files of recent interest at regional level, focusing on the possibility to solve possibly expanding crises. We've reiterated Romania's commitment to deepening and catalyzing diplomatic relations and cooperation with Kenya to strengthen peace and security at regional and global level. Romania, as Kenya, is interested in solving crises in the world through dialogue, through multilateral instruments, and by observing and respecting the international law. Moreover, Kenya can count on Romania as regards promoting and developing relations with the European Union. Instruments such as Global Gateway and the Team Europe initiative provide specific opportunities in this respect. I will encourage institutions and companies in Romania to get additionally involved in implementing them, including by involving Kenya. In today's discussions, I presented the Romanian assessments regarding the aggression war carried out by Russia against Ukraine, the direct consequences of the armed conflict on the security of Romania and at European level. Furthermore, I've analyzed the effects of these conflicts on the food safety of the states in Africa, including on Kenya. I also presented Romania's contribution to facilitating grain exports from Ukraine to ensure global food security. Romania has taken significant measures and has invested in infrastructure to be able to ensure from the beginning of the war transit of over 30 million tons of cereal from Ukraine to global markets, including Africa, and we will continue with an increased capacity. We've agreed that we will continue to cooperate in multilateral fora to promote international order which is based on rules. Moreover, we support the efforts that President Ruto submits and takes in cooperation with international partners to find the best solutions to crisis files in Africa. My visit to Kenya will continue with meetings at the UN office in Nairobi and discussions with the Executive Director of the UN Programme for the Environment. Also, I will visit an assistance project in the field of education provided by Romania to a high school of girls here. I would like to thank President Ruto for the excellent discussions and for the hospitality. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellencies. We'll now take a few questions from members of the press. Remember to start with your name, the media house you represent, and then keep your questions as short as possible. Over to you, members of the press.
Bună ziua, Ramona Avramescu, Televiziunea Română. Am o întrebare pentru ambii președinți, pentru că ați vorbit despre efectele războiului din Ucraina asupra securității alimentare în statele din Africa în principal. O întrebare pentru domnul președinte Ruto. Cum s-au simțit aceste efecte în Kenya asupra economiei și asupra vieții oamenilor? Și pentru președintele Klaus Iohannis, domnule președinte, având în vedere implicarea directă a României în tranzitul cerealelor ucrainene, cum poate contribui România la susținerea intereselor Uniunii Europene în Africa și la contracararea unor teme de propagandă rusă în această privință a securității alimentare? Mulțumesc.
Sorry, we didn't get the translation of the question. So maybe, Mr. President, you can...
I can ask in English if it's...
Okay.
Mr. President, talking about the effects of the war in Ukraine on Africa's country, the question is, how do you perceive these effects on economy of Kenya? Thank you.
Thank you very much. As we have already stated, as people from this region, the war in Ukraine has created a very dire situation in the East Africa and in the whole region of Africa, because three things have happened. Number one, commodity prices have escalated because of the war, whether you're talking about fertilizer, whether you're talking about grains. And as a result of the war, we have a serious situation of escalating prices of food items. And that has resulted in higher costs of living in our continent, with very detrimental effects on populations, on people, especially those that are vulnerable. And as a result, it has led to a second thing, that we are now spending more money in supporting communities, supporting the agricultural sector. We're investing more money in subsidizing fertilizer for food production, fertilizer that is already very high in costs. And that is why, as a continent, we believe in a peaceful resolution of these issues and an early engagement to resolve the conflict is a most desired outcome for those of us from this region. It is the reason why we believe in a rules-based world. We believe in the Charter of the UN that respects the territorial integrity of countries and that believes that aggression against any country globally is aggression against all countries. And we're looking forward to an early and speedy resolution of the conflict in Ukraine, as we do in Gaza and as we do in the rest of the conflicts that we have in our own continent. Thank you very much.
România este clar cel mai important culoar de export pentru produsele agricole din Ucraina.
Cultural products
Noi
in Ukraine.
contribuim
We
semnificativ
contribute
la
significantly
creșterea
to
capacității de
increasing the transit capacity
cale ferată
by rail, by road,
mai nou,
and
prin
recently
punerea la dispoziție a
by
apelor noastre
providing
teritoriale din Marea Neagră.
our territorial waters in the Black Sea. And as I have just said, we've facilitated already exports of over 30 million tons of agricultural products from Ukraine to global markets. Very many of these products have reached countries of Africa. However, I believe we can do a lot more, and that is why I decided to have this African tour starts today naturally and well-deserved in Kenya, here in Nairobi. It is clear that we need a multi-level approach to clarify things better. This is why I insisted we have a Romanian strategy for Africa. This is why I came personally with my team to start very solid measures that are thought on the long term. We have, first of all, high-level discussions, political discussions, diplomatic discussions that have to continue to clarify our narrative, our approach, and opportunities that we see. But it is not enough. We need specific collaboration at government level. That is why I decided alongside President Ruto to have today 4 collaboration documents signed. And this is only the beginning. In the excellent discussions that we had today, we've already identified several opportunities and several areas on which we can collaborate. It is, on the other hand, very important, in my opinion, to have a tight collaboration on education, to also convey to young generations what our intentions are and how we plan on doing this. And this is still not enough. We have to work specifically, intensely with the private sector because we need new investments. We need significant growth and increase in trade between our states because this is the way we can improve cohesion. We need joint approaches in areas which at first glance are not so obvious, very important. We all speak of crises, of wars, and other unwanted events. And we spoke today, myself and President Ruto, of how we are involved. Romania is involved in various parts of Africa with armed forces to keep peace or restore peace. Kenya is also very involved in Africa and more recently, as President Ruto explained, in Haiti to help as well. So we work together to guarantee security in various areas of the globe. These matters will lead to a tighter collaboration between the teams in Kenya and in Romania, will lead to a tighter cooperation between the Romanian economy and Kenyan economy. And this is how we can get closer to better explain our point of view for us to understand as well what concerns the leaders in Kenya and other leaders in Africa, because we want to keep together the democracies in this world, and we can work without any doubt, and we have great results in multilateral formats with the European Union, with Kenya, and you heard the agreement mentioned, the collaboration agreement, the European Union with the African Union. These are just a few of the areas in which we can work far better together if we try hard enough on both sides. And this is what I decided today in agreement with President Ruto to do. Hello, Oana Bula, Radio Romania.
Vizita dumneavoastră la Nairobi vine la mai puțin de o
Nairobi
lună de
comes
la adoptarea de către
1 month
România a strategiei naționale pentru
of
Africa.
Romania's enactment of the strategy for Africa, but also a couple of months after the European Union and Kenya have concluded negotiations that laid the foundation of an ambitious economic partnership. What new economic opportunities do we have now with respect to Kenya?
Ruto, how the climate changes affect your country, and how do you see the cooperation with the European Union and with Romania regarding this subject? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think the subject of climate change is not about that country. It's not about a region. This is that global phenomenon that is threatening humanity. And in the context of Kenya, being part of the Horn of Africa, this is a region that has suffered 4 consecutive years of failed rains, resulting in loss of livestock. In our region, between about 5 countries, we have lost about 9.5 million heads of livestock. We've lost millions of wildlife. And of course, drought has decimated many communities' livelihoods. And as a result, we've had to feed, for example, in Kenya, 4.3 million people who are affected by drought. So the effects of climate change are real. We are living the effects of climate change every day. And that is why Kenya has taken the position to champion climate action, mobilizing our continent. Last September, we mobilized the whole African continent on that very important subject of climate change so that we can harmonize our actions, we can consolidate our plan, and be able to work with the rest of the leadership of the globe and other regions on mitigating the effects of climate change and finding solutions that will not only serve us in this generation, but serve us in the generations to come. And 4 important aspects came out from our discussions on the management of the effects of climate change, from adaptation to mitigation and all the interventions in between. That number 1, we need to deal with clarity on making sure that we unlock the huge potential of renewable energy resources in our continent, working with others globally. That way, we will stop the perilous journey towards hydrocarbons, and that we need to reverse the speed and the escalation of exploitation of hydrocarbons, and in its place, unlock the huge potential of renewable energy in Africa, not just for African use to access energy to the close to 1 billion people in our continent who have no access to energy or clean cooking energy, or the 600 million people who have no access at all to energy, but also to use the renewable assets we have, geothermal, hydro, wind, solar, that we have in abundance. We have close to 40% of global resources in our continent, that we can use these resources to access energy to those of us in this continent, but to also decarbonize production everywhere in the world by exporting energy, whether it is through green hydrogen or relocating green industrial facilities, whether it is bauxite, whether it is steel, or any other manufacturing, relocating to the African continent, using African resources, using African renewable energy, using African minerals to create an industrial and manufacturing hub that is powered by green energy in our continent. And secondly, to look at opportunities for financing. How do we use the resources that we have, and how do we create new instruments for financing the huge opportunities that exist in our continent, from transforming and reforming the multilateral development banks to creating new instruments. I will be addressing the EU Parliament next week on what we think as Africa is the new opportunities that exist for collaborations between Europe and Africa to unlock the potential of renewable energy, to unlock resources and financing of new opportunities in the green energy space, e-mobility, and many other aspects, because we find that there is opportunity in that space. So much as climate change is a threat to humanity, but also there is a silver lining that there are opportunities that we can unlock in renewable energy, in alternative mechanisms of financing that we can use to unlock the potential that exists in Kenya and in Africa for the benefit of Kenyans, for the benefit of Africans, and for the benefit of humanity globally as we make these resources available for use by everybody. And that is why it is also important that Europe has finally concluded the discussions with Kenya, and the economic partnership agreement will be signed, as I said, in December. That will now consolidate our position and provide new opportunities for Kenyan enterprises, for Kenyan business people, for our agricultural products, for all our farmers to find markets in Europe in a way that gives us sustainability. So that is the scope, both climate change as a threat, but also the opportunities that come with the effects of climate change and how mitigation and adaptation can give us new opportunities for investment and for trade.
Concluding such an agreement is very important and beneficial. We could notice, because the EU has such agreements with many countries in the world, we could notice every time a growth of trade, investments, and really valuing opportunities that result from these. In this very specific case, the understanding between the European Union and Kenya will shortly yield beneficial results for the relation between the Union and Kenya, but including for the relation between Romania and Kenya. And it's good to see these aspects as well. Kenya is a gateway, really an entryway into this African region. This is a very important gateway, a democratic state that is stable with very good perspective. And this is how it will be possible to expand significantly areas that are very obvious, such as trade, such as investments, but not any type of investment. And I'm so happy that President Ruto already mentioned quite a lot of these. It is possible in green energy to invest us from Europe here in Kenya to get green energy for Europe. At the same time, of course, there is a transfer of technology from Europe to Kenya. At the same time, obviously, jobs are created. This is very valuable here in Kenya for the people here. It is clear that with this collaboration, relations will be tighter between European interested states and Kenya quite significantly. It is a huge opportunity for businesses in Romania because they will have an easy way to come to Kenya, to invest here, to do business here. At the same time, it is a very good way for Kenya to increase trade with Romania quite significantly and to bring Kenyan investors to Europe, to Romania. All of these are beneficial for both parties, of course. And we in Romania understood this quite a long time ago, and we supported from the beginning the positive negotiation of this agreement. And I can say I'm very happy that we have a happy ending, and this agreement will be signed in just a couple of days. One part that I will mention here specifically is that it opens the opportunity to work together, not just on green energy, but broadly speaking, moving toward a green economy in Kenya and in Romania. It is a tremendous opportunity to work together to fight climate change, to protect the environment, to have joint projects of renaturation. And of course, it is a very beneficial framework for exchange on education. And this is what I spoke today with President Ruto, and we will put these projects in practice.
Since that marks the end of the joint press briefing and the Q&A session, His Excellency the President of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, will now host the President of